Hi, I'm Matt Gallagher, and this is a review of a new Olympus E P1 camera, otherwise known as the Olympus Pen. Now, the design of this camera is based on the original pen camera, which was launched in 1959. The idea behind it was that the camera was meant to be as easy to carry around and as easy to use as a pen. And so this design was formed, and this latest interpretation is very similar to one of the later versions, which was the Pen F, which is the removable lens version. So what are the highlights of this camera? Well, we've got the retro-looking styling of the camera, obviously. We've got the 3-inch LCD screen on the back here, which has got 230,000 dot resolution. We've got an inbuilt anti-shake system, which gives us a sensor shift stabilisation, which can offer up to 4 steps of compensation. We've got the micro 4/3 lens mount, which allows us to get some nice small lenses onto the camera. We've got an HD movie mode, which allows us to shoot at high definition 720p. And we've got the art filters. Now, these have been seen in Olympus cameras in the past, and they allow us to get some nice filmic effects onto our pictures to create some very nice looking results. Due to the retro design of this camera, certain features have been sacrificed slightly. As you can see, we haven't got an optical viewfinder on this camera, so you are forced to do your composition on the LCD on the back. There is, however, a workaround for this. If you're using the 17mm lens, you can actually use this add-on optical viewfinder which sits on the top. So that does go some way of redressing the balance, but this isn't perfect, and if you're wanting to use different lenses, it won't actually give you the angle of view you're seeing through the lens. There's also no built-in flash for this camera. If you want flash, you need to use the optional device which sits on the hot shoe on the top. There are a number of benefits though. This uses the same size sensor as features in the full E-series range from Olympus. So what you're getting here is a full third size 17.3 by 13mm sensor. In this case, this is a 12.3 megapixel live MOS sensor. But there's also a new processor with this camera. This is a TruePic 5 sensor, and this allows an ISO range of up to 6400, and this is a step up from even the E30 model. Metering is handled by a 324-zone multi-pattern system, which offers digital ESP, center-weighted and spot options. On top of your regular creative options here on the top, your manual, shutter speed, aperture priority and program, you've also got an iAuto mode, which offers an almost point-and-shoot method for shooting with this camera. You've got your art modes, and you've got 19 scene modes there as well to choose from. As mentioned before, the art filters on this camera include pop art, soft focus, pan and colour, light tone, grainy film and pinhole effects, and these help produce a really creative looking image from your camera. Now if we switch over to the video mode, here we've got high definition video capture. It records in AVI JPEG format at 1280 by 720 pixels, which is 720p high definition, or it can also record in 640 by 480 in a standard definition. Looking at the design of this camera, it's certainly a brave move for Olympus, and it's very different to anything else we've seen. All in all though, the reports have been very good, and we certainly love it in the office. The EP1 comes in a choice of 2 colours. This is the white model, but there's also a silver model as well, which is our preferred choice. There's a couple of really nice features as well. This top mode dial is flat mounted onto the camera here, which really helps with the retro effect. And here we've got the thumb wheel on the back, and this allows a really quick and easy access to some of the functions and really speeds up your operation there. We've also got, on the full-way dial, we've got a rotating control, so using the 2 of these you can really get through the functions and make sure you can change to whatever setting you need very quickly. The LCD screen itself is a nice big size. Although the resolution isn't particularly high, the angle of view is really good, and you can pretty much see it from any angle you approach it from. Apart from the lack of an optical viewfinder, this camera does offer as much as a DSLR. There are a few performance-based issues though. The contrast-based AF system does search forward and back every time you half-press the shutter button, which means that even if the focus point hasn't moved, it will still tend to search between shots. The metering handles almost all conditions very well. and only in really high contrast scenes will it tend to blow the highlights to keep the best possible exposure for the rest of the picture. The burst mode offers a 3 frames per second continuous shooting, which although fairly average, is probably enough for most users of this camera. As this camera relies on the rear LCD for the composition of all its shots, it does put a strain on the battery. This means you've got around 300 shots before the battery is completely drained, and this is roughly equivalent to about a 4GB card. While video isn't the main focus of this camera, it does offer some impressive performance. Though it doesn't offer the audio input or the 1080p high resolution of some other cameras, it does offer the ability to use the art modes within the movies, and it offers an aperture priority mode as well. Looking at the camera's image quality, in terms of tone and exposure, the camera's metering system delivers a balanced tonal range using the ESP system. It does occasionally use highlights in the most high contrast areas, but overall the image is kept well exposed. Highlight and shallow spot modes can be really useful when trying to maintain that extra bit of detail. The colour and white balance, outdoors the EP1 delivers a bright and colourful result. Indoors though, particularly at high ISO, the water-white balance does verge on a more yellow colouring. The range of white balance presets, however, is fairly extensive, offering incandescent, 3 fluorescent and a custom setting. There's even a one-touch setting, so you can make sure you've got your own custom reading set there. The supplied 14-42 lens, it does produce some detailed and adequate sharpness, but I don't really feel the lens gets the best out of the sensor. That said, detail is maintained at the high ISO values with the help of the noise reduction and the noise filters, and fringing is mostly minor in its appearance. The noise levels become evident over 800 ISO, and above 3200 it does get fairly heavy, though the noise is monochromatic and not really imposing on the image. And the help of the noise reduction and the noise filters do really help to control this, even at the higher 6400 ISO. Even at the 300 magnification, it's really difficult to see any differences between the RAW and JPEG files. If anything, when left to the default settings, the JPEG image is actually looking slightly crisper than the RAW file, but obviously the RAW has then got the opportunity to make further adjustments and get more out of the image. So in terms of value for money, this camera costs £699 with the 14-42 lens. So at this price, it is a premium product, but that's not to say it's not worth the money. This does actually make it nearly half the price of the GH1 camera from Panasonic, so it is actually not bad value for money. It's a great looking camera, and I think it will attract the premium audience. So overall, if you're after something a little bit different, I think this will really appeal, and it does do the job it's designed to do. Overall, we gave this camera 88%.